Do that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to come out of closed session.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we will get on, thank you everyone for waiting, apologize for a little bit of the delay. We will move on to approval of the agenda.
So before we do that, I just wanted to, and with the blessing of the board, I wanted to make a quick statement that this is the first time that the Board of Education has had a chance to get together. And so on behalf of the Board of Education and the entire school district, we would like to convey our condolences to the Provincetown Linden Tampico School District on the loss of their 3 students several weeks ago. And it goes without saying that our hearts and prayers and thoughts go out to them and are there to support them in their time of need. So I just wanted to make a quick mention of that before we moved on. So
Thank you.
thank you. So we have approved the agenda. There are a couple changes. I'd like to point out under retirement, new business letter C. It got scrolled in there. If I'm looking at this correctly. There should be two motions. They got put together. So the first motion remains the same. The second motion is we're adding the retirement of Diana Van Riet as office manager at South Northside at the conclusion of the 23-24 school year. And then under certified staff action, we are adding number 7. We are approving the hiring of Luke Lawson as a certified counselor at Morrison High School for next year. I think those are the only 2 changes that I
Okay.
at this point.
You remember the previous meeting?
Yeah, I did change this. So the minutes originally went out as the March date. I've since updated it.
Okay.
I don't know if it's transferred over. Yeah,
Okay.
you got March 18th.
Yeah.
No, it should be. Yeah, that's right, March 18th.
Yes, okay.
Thank you.
So do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving along to approval of previous minutes.
Motion the Board of Education approves the minutes from the March 18th, 2024 meeting as presented.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second. Any discussion? Updates?
Just, there was one spot where it said that I either made a motion or I seconded it and I wasn't
Okay.
here.
Oh, okay.
So we're
That's
gonna,
important, yeah.
we'll amend those for next month.
Okay, sounds good.
So you know what, why don't we just table that?
Okay,
Since we'll have to look and see who actually made the second.
sure. That sounds good. We'll table that till next month. Okay, moving along to the consent agenda.
So the motion is that the Board of Education approves the consent agenda as presented, including bills and non-certified personnel recommendations.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
Roll call? I'm sorry, any discussion? Nope. Okay, roll call?
Folgers.
Yes.
Pielson.
Yes.
Colombo.
Yes.
Wilkins.
Yes.
Samhoff.
Yes.
Angleton.
Yes.
Lucky.
Yes. Okay, moving along to communication, public comments. I know for sure we have Kim Eagleson speaking, and then,
So the question on how you want to do this is, Kim's on the agenda, so she gets more than 3 minutes. We
Sure.
only have Ms. Damhoff signed up. Do we want to give her a few extra minutes too?
I'm okay with that, if everyone's okay with that.
I think we make it last at least 5 minutes.
So we'll go with Kim first, and we'll let Sophie get a little more nervous as she sits there. So, all right, Kim, you're up.
Thank you. I appreciate the time here tonight. In interest of time, I am going to read off my phone to try to make sure I remember the key points. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Kim Eagleton. I was Sauk Valley Community College, and I'm here tonight to talk a little bit about some updates to the impact program and specifically how it is impacting Morrison students and our volunteer organizations. If you're not familiar with the impact program, it's Sauk's Earned Scholarship Program. And some of our lovely 8th graders have sat through this recently, so you're all familiar with the program, right? There we go, perfect. So students sign up April 1st of their 8th grade year. They volunteer 25 hours each year of high school, and what that earns them is up to 3 years tuition and fees, or until they complete their degree or certificate program, whichever is first. Other requirements are very simple. You remain in good standing and graduate on time or early with your class. Complete the federal financial aid application or the waiver, and apply for a non-SAUC scholarship. You don't have to receive it, but you do have to apply for it. And then the other added bonus is if you are a SAUC scholar, which means you're graduating in the top 10% of your class, you also get your books paid for, which is a tremendous incentive. The first impact pilot program students are going to be the 2025 graduating class, and that's for specifically Prophetstown, Linden, Tampico, and Fulton schools, and there's about 60 of those students that will arrive on campus in the fall of 2025. The first cohort of Morrison students will be the MHS class of 2026, and we have about 42% of the class registered, and that ranks about 9th in terms of class participation across all of the other school districts in the community college district. MHS class of 2027 has nearly 92% of the class signed up, and that's about third in the participation according to the other high schools. And I just want to remind these students, so if you are aware of an impact student, if you have an impact student, you do need to meet those hourly requirements of 25 hours by May 31st of every year. So we already know we have some students that don't have any hours logged at all for this year, and that includes Morrison High School students. So anything you can do to encourage those students to get those hours in by May 31st, that way they don't run the risk of being eliminated from the program. For the class of 2028, I'm watching this one a little closer. It's my son's class that these folks are a part of. Does anybody want to guess? Enrollment opens April 1st. Anybody want to guess how many, or what percentage of our 8th grade class has signed up in the first 20 days?
95.
I love that. Work on your friends. So it's 20%. But I will tell you that number jumped. 2 more kids signed up, or parents signed kids up today. So that number will keep going up, and they can sign up until September 1. And I know it's hard. Everybody says, how can you sign up as an 8th grader? How do you know where you're going to go to school? But I'm a firm advocate that there's really no reason you can't sign up or shouldn't be signing up. Even if your child has an opportunity to go somewhere else on a scholarship, or as part of an athletic scholarship, or they have a dream of going somewhere else, even the military, those hours that you earn can be used for summer and online classes. The other thing that's really cool is for some of our students that are going straight to the workforce, if they choose the hours that they earn, if they're doing an apprenticeship or going to the workforce, they can use those hours for any other skill set they may need. So if there's a welding certificate, an electrical certificate, they can still use those hours to get that while they're getting paid to work at the same time. So just a little thing that we like to throw in. We do know this program is making a difference. We're hearing it from our volunteer partners. We're seeing it through changes in our student volunteers. Our students are learning and getting reinforced those employability skills that we're hearing every day from employers that are missing. We are seeing kids that are now coming and will look you in the eye and shake your hand and talk to you and look you in the eye while they're talking to you. Things that aren't happening, partly because a lot of our kids that are of that age were communicating over electronics during the pandemic. And they're learning it from other adults. So they're creating connections within the community. Those connections will lead to hopefully future employment, job opportunities, and more. So for current years, the current year's hours, your students have completed over 1,000 hours of volunteering. In combined, the classes of all of the impact students, again excluding the 8th graders, more than 2,000 hours have been done by your students. If you're looking at total program numbers, there are currently just over 1,300 students, impact students in the entire college district, plus an additional 160 that are 8th graders that have signed up. On average, there's about 75 to 80 volunteer events per month. And just to give you an example, for all those kids that still need to get those hours in, there are 1,675 hours available for the month of April alone. As a reminder, again, get those hours in before May 31st, and the 8th graders that signed up can start earning their hours June 1st. If you're not aware, we have over 200 organizations, and over 20 of those volunteer organizations are right here in Morrison. So we're trying to make sure that kids can get their hours here, where transportation may be an issue, so they don't have to worry about that barrier. But you can volunteer in any of those events across the community college district. And then we will be kicking off an impact challenge. It'll be a Mustang impact challenge. We'll be doing that at some point in the next year. So when we finalize the date, I'll be in touch with all of you so you're aware of what's happening. But at that point, we'll be coming to you and just letting you know that we are going to begin really fundraising to fully endow Morrison schools so that every Morrison High School student will be able to go to SALC at no cost by earning that tuition into perpetuity. I do have, I don't know where they want it, oh, behind me. We do have signs. If somebody wants a yard sign, all of the 8th graders will be delivering those signs to your houses at some point this summer. So if you have any questions, otherwise We appreciate your continued support and look forward to those numbers continuing to go up. And I really can't emphasize enough how important it is to have the support of the board and the administration just in trying to brainstorm on how we get some of these kids signed up, especially some of our students that may or may not have a strong support system at home that really need this impact program the most. So we appreciate it.
Can, like volunteer hours within the school, like tutoring or coaching younger levels, can those be, what are the rules or whether the,
So in order to be a volunteer organization, we do have several entities within the school district. The boosters have signed up as a partner. The junior high, I think, is a partner. We have some others, so there are opportunities within the school district. The only caveat is the position, whatever your student is doing, cannot replace a currently paid position.
so like if they're tutoring or something like that would definitely be,
It should be
okay,
included.
cool.
And I will say, as with everything, there's always like that little spot that you can say, how do we get in? So if your child is participating in maybe a mission trip through a church, and maybe the church is not a signed-on organization, as long as the college can work with a representative from that organization and verify those hours, there's a way for the student then that we can help you log those hours so they still get the credit for it. So, thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
You're up.
I am Sophie Danhoff, and I will be a freshman next year. As you may know, we have been working on our schedules, and myself, along with my peers, are disappointed in the options for electives. Here at Morrison, we are told our high school classes will prepare us for when we graduate, and electives can be critical to our future success. This also starts with our freshman year, and we are only offered band, choir, ag, or art as electives. Why are these not more options like sewing, welding, drafting, foods, and computers? The budget could have been the reason to eliminate these from our district, but can we utilize teachers within the district to give us high school students this opportunity? I did come across a few grants which could help offset costs for elective classes with materials and repairs. I am sure with more research there are more grants than what I came across. Surrounding smaller districts such as Millersville, Fulton, and Provincetown all offer these elective classes. Why was it taken away from Morrison? There are many opportunities to do a co-op for classes. If these classes are not offered in our district, they should be available to do a co-op with these districts. If a student is not into art, ag, or music, they are currently being forced to take these classes. When they are forced into these classes don't have any interest, they are distracting other students that are there because they want to. Some students do not plan to go to college, and these electives can help them and guide them into a job they are interested in. Our districts used to be one of the best and one people wanted their kids to come to. We need to get that reputation back and get more parents and students to want to come to Morrison. But without electives, this will not happen. The only course description booklet that was provided for us online is from 2020. Please consider adding more elective classes options to get us engaged and ready for our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Well said.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to good news from around the district.
So can I ask her a question?
Okay.
So what ag classes are offered at Morrison?
I don't know.
I'm not sure that's been determined yet. I think there's,
Okay,
think
intro to
what-
ag.
I think what
Intro to
right
ag
now
and
is,
ag mechanics.
there's a course description book that goes out that lists all the courses that courses that have been offered in the past. And then based on the number of people who sign up for those courses, they determine which courses are offered.
Did we have a welding class last year?
We did welding as part of ag.
Okay. And we had
So-
woodworking too?
So years ago, when Mrs. Simmons retired, we were unable to find a
Yes.
replacement to do FACS, which is the Family Consumer Science. And then we swapped. So we had FACS and we had industrial arts. And so we swapped one for the other. We brought the ag back with the industrial arts. And then when Mr. Rickles retired, we weren't able to fill that position because finding FACS teachers and industrial technology teachers is very difficult.
Right, oh, yeah.
Which is why we brought the ag in to kind of replace that industrial tech piece to that.
So what are you interested in?
I would love to bring a back teacher back.
Like a cooking class or like,
Home ec, the old
yeah,
home ec.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be great too.
So culinary arts?
Mhm.
What, I mean, drafting and stuff, is there, I would think that we could partner with SOC or somebody for an AutoCAD drafting.
So
and-
WAC does culinary arts,
But they're not available.
not till the juniors.
And that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
that there's.
Yeah.
What other options are there for?
How many kids can go to WAC?
We send roughly 40 a year.
Or maybe we can look at other districts that provide those kind of courses that we can work together with them.
The major, and I don't mean to sound like a downer, the biggest issue with that is schedules. Schedules have to align. So Fulton, for example, they're on the block schedule, we're not.
Provincetown has cooking.
Do they?
Yes, we do.
Yes,
I
you do.
mean,
I
yes,
know
we
you
do.
Well, that would be an option.
I know, I'm just saying, I just know that, so. But I'm just saying that maybe look at some options.
But then they would have to have room also in their classes
Yes.
as well.
What about academic options? Like, we have like women in literature and like stuff like that, like.
Those are still offered as long as there's enough kids to
Yeah.
make them go. You have to remember, we're 857 kids, or 957 kids, when we were once 1,300 kids, so it dwindles. But I think there's women in the still on, it's still in the catalog.
Yeah,
They want to do the fun stuff.
Well, and actually, your freshman year, most of it is academics. You know, they don't have a lot of,
wiggle room.
there's not a lot of
Driver's
flexibility.
ed usually is,
Yes.
makes up one part of it.
Yeah.
I think we have a business applicant, so some computer stuff might come back.
That'd be good. Cool.
Well, thank you for coming to speak. Moving along to good news.
Northside lucked out. We had Delta Dental come in and do their yearly Land of Smiles presentation. The kids love it. The amazing thing is it's free, and the kids, it's probably their favorite presentation that's done. But we lucked out because the presenters got sick when they were originally supposed to do it. So they sent us over 200 toothbrushes, tubes of toothpaste, and floss, and then when they rescheduled it, they didn't know they'd already sent us over 200 already, so they sent another 200, and they said they couldn't take them back, so do with them what we wanted, so we gave them to the carrying closet, so that
Cool.
they had plenty. Because I don't know, it had only been a few weeks, I don't think the kids had used up all their toothpaste.
Here, I thought you were gonna bring us some.
I think they were safe. That's good.
So April 19th, we held our first vintage video game night at Southside. The students were able to come in and play a lot of old video games like Dance Dance Revolution.
Careful what you say.
Sorry. Duck Hunt was there, yeah. We had 2 TVs at Duck Hunt. I want to thank a lot of people that showed up and put a lot of time into it. Brian Bartos and the Key Club, they came and ran our entire laser tag all night. And they stayed afterwards and cleaned up with us for an hour. Susan Wilkins, Danny Mills, Sarah Stanton, Amber Wright, Janelle Miller, Sheila Richmond, Andy Regan, and William Patton and his whole family. They were all there volunteering, and it was an incredible night for all the students. I just really want to thank them. Also, I'm going on an honor flight with my grandfather here in a few hours. We had the Southside students make cards for the veterans. So they were able to make over 300 cards that the veterans will be reading on the flights.
Wow.
The man that was in charge told us that a lot of the veterans don't have a lot of cards from family members just because they are getting older. So teachers kind of took it upon themselves to kind of get behind that. And then we're going to keep doing that each year just to keep supplementing and making it a good experience for them. So that's all I got.
I wanted to make sure, so maybe some of you were not aware, we do have a bowling team. It's a little different through IESA, because students can, perform outside of the school and then just kind of sign up individually, for the sectionals and the state. So we did have 4 bowlers that went to the sectional. I want to thank Luke Keel, for donating his time to kind of be the coach and take care of everything. We had Ethan Bush, Garrison Gregoric, Colton Keel and Briar Keel all went to the sectionals, and Briar and Garrison both qualified for the state tournament, which was in Joliet last weekend. We did a send-off for them. Maybe some of you saw that. We did a send-off for them. With our wrestlers, we do Eye of the Tiger playing as they walk down, and for bowling, we had just bowling, the sounds of bowling signs, hitting and getting that down and all that stuff. So we were able to see them off. I got an email from Luke the other day, just saying, hey, you really appreciate it, thanked it. So I just want to take time to, like I said, thank Luke for kind of volunteering to be the coach, and congratulate those boys on, I guess you could kind of say, the inaugural Morrison Junior High bowling team. So congratulations to all of them.
All right, it's been, I feel like the timing of our last meeting and this meeting, we didn't get to see the March Students of the Month for Rotary, so I included those as our first slide. Just this last week, they unveiled the April Students of the Month, for Rotary. So in March, we had Madison Banks and Geneva Connolly are on that first slide. For April, I just went over last week, and they recognized Sarah Weston and Carolyn Kirkpatrick. I was also inducted into the Morrison Rotary, so that was a nice ceremony there. And that'll be something that will help us build that relationship with the community and the school and kind of do some good things. The next thing I wanted to share was from the Woodlawn Art Competition. We had a number of students, a lot of students that sent artwork over. We had 3 taking a first place, a second place, and a third place. Zaylee Boonstra took a first place. Lana Cook had second place, and Anna Blevins earned third place. The artwork from all the students is just amazing. For myself, I have no artistic ability. When I see teenagers, junior high kids producing this type of art, it just blows me away. So there's a couple slides in a row you can kind of see, and these pieces of art will be shared and displayed. They put up, they make large banners if you've seen them in the past. So those 3 award winners, all 3 of those Morrison students will have those banners displayed throughout the county in the entire region. So that's really a neat thing. And I've seen that just driving around Morrison, going to Sterling, going to Dixon, you see some of these different things on display. So that's a neat thing, just the area to see. Next, we have 2 Whiteside Area Career Center Students of the Month. And like these young students mentioned, having electives and giving kids classes that are geared towards what they want to do and what they're going to do as careers. These are 2 students that go over to WAC and are doing just that. Drew Pape is a student, just to be honest, that hasn't been terribly successful at Morrison, but is just knocking it out of the park at WAC. He's in a trade. He's in a class that is going to fit right into what he's doing in his career. He is, according to his instructor, like the best student over there. So that's awesome for one of our kids to go over there and excel. So he was Student of the Month for March. Then Maddie Armitage in the Early Childhood Program was the Student of the Month for March as well. When we did our tour, that was definitely my highlight going into that Early Childhood Program. Having spent my last 5 years in elementary, that was good to see those pre-K kids again. So they do a stupendous job over there. So our staff member of the month for March was Miss Dieter. Miss Dieter teaches high school PE and health. She coaches as well. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. She got her lunch, and then, like always, I always buy some food for the kids to share. So they get to share some Happy Joes with Miss Dieter at lunch last week. We had our NHS ceremony Wednesday, April 3rd. The Morrison NHS chapter nominated and selected 15 new members in the National Honor Society. That is one of the things I had missed the last 5 years, so it was good to get back and doing that with high school students. Some really outstanding kids. We have plenty of outstanding kids that don't earn that distinction, but National Honor Society is kind of one of those top-level academic leadership and community service distinctions our kids can earn. The following night, we had Morrison 8th graders at MHS for an informational session. This was a good time to hear about credits and classwork. It probably spurred some of the conversation we heard tonight about more electives and more choices. That's always a good thing. I had never seen this presentation, so I learned a lot as well. The next is an honor that one of our student athletes earned. Carson Strading was selected and won one of the 9 Chicago Bears Athletico Community High School All-Star Awards this year. So this was focused on athletics, obviously, but then giving back to the community service, volunteerism, something that we've heard a lot about tonight. Carson is a fantastic example of that. He is a leader within my building. He's a leader within this community. And he earned part of his honor was to earn a $500 donation that he could choose to give out to a nonprofit of his choice. The next slide shows that. Carson shows the Quad Cities Autism Center, which will provide tutoring, family supports for families in need with students with those special needs, which is just a perfect example of what he would do with that, which is awesome. Monday, April 8th, we got to participate, like all the buildings did, in witnessing the eclipse. Dr. Brad Yaklich, local optometrist here in town, donated enough glasses for the entire district. So we were able to view that safely. I wish I could take credit for that picture. That is one my brother sent me. That's the best one I've seen. Mine all turned out really bad, so I was able to steal that. For the next couple weeks, April 26th through May 10th, all students in the Morrison School District are participating in a supply drive. It's a competition between the buildings. As building level administrators, we've created incentives for our students if they're the ones that win this. And then the students will bring those supplies in every Tuesday and Thursday. They'll tally them up. Morrison High School students in Miss Howard's social issues class will donate those over to God's Will Giving Closet here in Morrison. It's just downtown. And this is very similar to our caring closet that we have at the high school, except more community-based. Anyone with any need, the qualifications are basically you've asked for help. And they have a lot of care items, a lot of cleaning supplies, a lot of household items. It's not a food pantry. They do have non-perishables, but the goal is to be able to provide the supports and services and some of those really simple things that we take for granted that maybe people need. So that's just another example of what our kids do to give back. So it's a very busy month.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so moving along to reports. The first with our finance and facility. We met, most of the stuff we're going to talk about in the meeting in great detail, but we just kind of had an update on the north side junior high HVAC, and everything seems to be moving along and going well. We're getting drawings in for the track project, so that is well on its way. And then as far as the door replacement, the bids open for that at 11 a.m. on May 17th. So we will be on the way for that project too. And then, like I said, everything else will kind of go through their agenda items.
As far as enrollment goes, we are sitting steady at 981 students district-wide. That is the same as last month. But unfortunately, it's 21 students below where we were at this point last year. It is the season for kids to be relocating, unfortunately.
Any questions on either of those two? Okay. Moving along to old business. We have the high school score and video boards.
So the motion is the Board of Education approve the purchase of scoreboard/video boards for Morrison High School for the cost of $123,000.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, discussion?
That's a lot of money.
It's coming out of the bonds,
Okay.
and it is a revenue generating purchase.
So we have to pay what, $10,000 a year for
Six.
$6,000 a year. So is there a price we're going to charge for ads?
Based on previous conversations and conversations with Mr. Vance and Mr. Dolan, and then just kind of researching in local districts that either have this or doing this or have done this for a certain period, came up with just a mock for you guys to see. I mean, this is ready to be handed to businesses right now. It would just be a matter of having the video board in place, having the technology in place, and having the contract in place. So what you guys see there, you would roughly get $1,000 per contract out of these advertising, these digital marketing deals. And essentially what you would do is their commercials, their short videos would be played during all home games, varsity games, JV games, freshman games, anything in the gym. We could also, and we've talked about this, I've met with William and discussed some options for possibly enhancing some of what we can do within the building. If you've been in the building, we have video screens in a lot of places where they play announcements, they play student-made products, things like that. we could involve some of that. We could possibly also use the marquee in front of the building to enhance some of the marketing, which then obviously if you're offering more screens, more time, you're expecting to be paid more for it. So right now, the going rate, and this is consistent with 5 or 6 other schools within 30 minutes here, is $1,000 per business for a full season contract. So you're talking about $6,000 for software, that's 6 contracts. In my mind, I think we have dozens of contracts in this area that we could acquire. We put a lot of people in seats in front of those screens, in front of those video boards. The end of this, and I think where this comes to a culmination, is when we have enough money to put on the fall field, and then we start cooking. Because that's where we can put 2,000 people every Friday night, 9-10 times a year. Nobody can top that. It's the biggest draw in the entire community is our sporting events. So this is where, like Mr. Van said, this is a way to generate revenue. This is money that does not exist currently that we could jump on and try to move on now, but that video board is the big seller. You can also have, there's a kind of a pick your package if you don't want to commit to $1,000 and just pick like a sport. I just want them up during basketball games. So it's not as efficient and you're going to spend less, but you get less out of it. So it's one of those things where it's kind of a sliding scale. I think it's pretty straightforward. I think the opportunities are there. And I think they can expand beyond that once we start this. At the same time, this is being done and this is not like crazy talk. Schools, Riverdale, Orion, Sherrard, schools that do this and do it well. And at the same time, so what this also offers with the video board software is there is a curriculum, a course that we can teach in our school that would be based on that. So we'd have students producing these works. Students would learn how to use the video board, and then as they move through, those students become experts, and then you have kids, whether it's on staff, we would probably have to train some of the workers because they've been using a different system. But that's the type of stuff they've learned once.
I think it's, in my discussion with the company, is it's on an iPad and it's just literally push button technology.
It's fantastic. Yep.
David, I've heard some rumor, and I don't know if you've been approached by this, about possibility of maybe a local business willing to eat a lot of the purchase cost in exchange for multi-year contracts.
Yeah, nobody's contacted me. The number I heard was 10 years, which I'd sign that up in a second. $10,000 for 123. Let's do that tomorrow. At the same time, that would get them probably some enhanced digital marketing, naming rights on the board, things like that. But that's what people pay for. And that's the stuff where I think we would want to fall back on other districts' experience, and then also just, I mean, you want to consult our school attorney to make sure we don't get ourselves in the spot where we do something wrong. But yeah, I had heard that. No one has contacted me. I think that would be a fantastic opportunity, and I would love any business in Morrison to step up and do that.
So how many ads can you sell? I mean, what would your max be? That, you know.
You mean like how many
on there at a time, right?
Gotcha. I don't have an answer to that because I don't know. I don't know. In my mind,
how you set it up.
I think a couple dozen is a pretty realistic thing to do because I mean, those games go for hours, and it's not going to be a normal like 45-second commercial. It's going to be more.
I think it's on a loop.
Yeah, it's a loop. It's not live action. You're not shooting footage.
Right. I mean, I'm familiar with the Fulton ones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've seen some.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they've got a bank and they've got Coca-Cola over there.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a restaurant or two over there. So
Yeah.
but they usually do 3 or 4 per game, and usually the games that I go to, it's the same 4.
Yep. Well, and that's where I think the worst you're going to hear is no. So you want to reach out to the community. Some businesses have marketing budgets set aside for things like this, so that might align with that. Other businesses might be willing, like, hey, let's try $500 this year, see how it does. If they don't feel like it produces, I've always had that option of not re-upping, I guess.
You can always go to other entities like CGH, for example. I mean, it's not in Morrison, but
There's more songs.
yes, there's more.
Yep. No, I think the options for reaching out the initial time are a pretty large number. I cannot tell you how many we're gonna get. If I were in marketing, like this is what I did, I would probably have better answers, but I'm not. But I think this is an avenue that we can explore. I get the upfront cost. It is great. But over the lifetime of that scoreboard, you're thinking you need 123 contracts. Can you get 123 over 20 years?
Yeah, so you mentioned lifetime. What's
it going to last 20 years?
Well, yeah, what's the warranty? How long what's projection of payoff?
I think the current scoreboard that we're might move to the junior high, we're not throwing away, is within 10 years old. So we're continuing to use that one. At the same time, there was some sunk cost that we would have to incur because we do have to update our scoreboard due to IHSA rules. So this was something that was coming anyways, and then this is an avenue to take something that was gonna be a loss only and buy a new scoreboard setup, and now we can profit off of it a little bit.
What's the delta?
Do what?
What's the delta between what we would have to buy in this?
I can't pay you that number off the top of my head. I don't know the difference between those two.
Well, considering that junior high sign was 20,000, for, you know what I mean, like, I'm guessing it's,
Well, that was just for the inside.
Right.
That was the whole
Mhm.
thing.
I know, but then what we talked about though is we could take the old high school ones and move it to the junior high
So
and replace those. So those are a little bit newer than what we have in there right now.
Dan, I apologize, because I just discussed that with Mr. Dolan. He quoted me a number. I don't want to throw something out there, so I'm going to say it. 'Cause it's the only time I've ever heard it. But yes, the replacement cost would have been considerable, obviously less than what this is. But that was one where we're just kind of replacing to a bare minimum, and this is an enhancement.
At some point, we're gonna have to add shot clocks.
Yeah, that's what
This will
would catch
link
up
up
with us.
with a shot clock.
Do you know what's the warranty, what's the expected lifespan?
I don't have that in front of me. I use all information that I can read more on and provide that to you. I don't have it. I haven't done that yet. Sorry. There's one that's kind of moved quick, and that's why I think it'd be a good one. If we can get it, and the point of this too is that this is ready to go in the fall.
Who would be in charge of finding sponsors?
That
I
would, yeah, I mean,
Mr. Dolan.
those are details to be worked out. If it's Mr. Dolan, if it's the superintendent, if it's the
I
building
think
principal.
we have sponsors for our programs. That's the first place you start is you go to those people and say, you know, you give us $200 for this, but for, you know, and you can even do 2 for 1. You could do for, you know, for $1,000 you get a video and you get replacement in the program or something like that.
Yeah,
Like sweeten the deal.
the program sponsors was something Mr. Dolan had mentioned. I think that's a good place to start.
And at some point, if you do get the class side piece of this up and running, they theoretically could go out and.
Yeah.
That's how I see this. You want a business class? No
Yeah.
better than this.
Oh, 100%.
And it benefits the school. So you put a game plan together, you go see how it works, you go get told no a bunch of times, no better real life experience.
The board, the software comes with a curriculum for it. Like it's made to be, I mean, they're smart. They make it, market it to schools, and then the schools can then use it.
Do we have
teach it.
somebody to teach the program?
Didn't we have a?
Not yet.
I was gonna say.
We-
something
we
like
have-
that.
we have-
But this could be added into business.
100%.
Teacher,
Yes.
yeah, I mean,
Yes.
okay, I'm just saying this would be a huge waste to not utilize this.
Yes, I have a business candidate. He has not come in for his interview yet. I would love to hire him. I haven't talked to him, so that's kind of a hard thing to do. Yes, this would be in the curriculum. It's something explicitly that I would talk about in the interview with them. Because for me, it would ease the candidates, you know, this is the class I set up. I just have to kind of work with the program and maybe they have experience with it. But yeah, this would 100% be a class we would offer. So maybe sports marketing.
Yeah, like that even better.
And we do have a sports marketing class, and it does come with an app that live streams, not televises the events. But if you use Game Changer for softball or baseball or something like that, it's similar to that, except it's a little bit more expedient with keeping things going.
And some schools have gotten far enough down with this where the kids are like, they're doing play-by-play. They're doing things like that with a class like sports marketing. So really there's a lot of ways to go with it. And so unfortunately, like the kids mentioned, we haven't been able to offer these things and haven't had it filled, so.
So you said they will be able or will not be able to stream this?
No, they don't stream.
I don't know, you can't stream on the scoreboard, but with the app, you may be able to stream like you can on Game Changer. Where you know, tie it into the NFHS feed or something like that.
Yeah, you can do that.
Or the Facebook feed.
You can videotape the game and do it
And
live.
it might go in with that huddle too.
That could- I think it does connect with the huddle.
$13,000 a year for it.
We're, I don't want desktop, I guess.
You know, and if the, that just, popped into my head that if there was a concern about the continuation of the software package, perhaps something with the booster club to offset those costs where they get a lifetime.
Right.
Yeah, some of the
Something like
districts
that
use
versus-
the advertising solely to pay the subscription. Some of them, their booster club picks it up, like we have some of ours. And I think that's a novel idea, is you give the boosters free reign on the advertising, and then if they're willing to cooperate, you have like a perfect fit of a partner there.
Or you tier it that, you know, for $6,000, this is what you get. You get a minute spot on all games.
I think it makes sense.
Stuff like this.
To me, I guess I would, before purchasing something for, over 100 grand, I'd just like to see what the plan is, I mean, in detail. I mean, kind of like when we did the greenhouse, they came and gave us a huge presentation on how everything was gonna be set up, how everything's gonna be organized, make sure it's gonna be paid for. And this is a nice, flyer, but I mean, I would really like to see who's gonna be in charge of this, teaching the class, who's gonna be calling for sponsors, how much time are they gonna get, for advertising? Just a lot more in-depth.
Warranty, and how long does the subscription software package?
It's annual subscription.
Yeah.
How long, I guess, is there a guarantee that the software package is gonna be around for 5 years, 6 years, 10 years? Sometimes, now you need to buy this new software package.
Yeah, I
We
can't
don't
guarantee.
support that
Yeah,
anymore.
no one can guarantee that that company's gonna be around.
I understand.
I mean, it's,
Can we sell the old scoreboards at the junior high and put that towards our software?
I don't know what the shape of those are.
Somebody will buy,
We're fine.
no matter what shape.
We've done that before. We sold the old
But that
baseball
would be
scoreboard.
money put towards your software.
We tried to sell that old baseball scoreboard.
Oh, I
Tried to sell that sign. I think it's still sitting by the garbage.
sell
I don't know.
Sitting there.
I know, we almost tried to give it away. A big old sign that used to sit out in front of the junior high that,
The old one, the old one from
1975.
It'll be gone in about 20 minutes.
It's taken up space.
Well, I think though, because there are some questions with this, if we could just get a couple more answers before May, and then we'll be in a better place to vote, and then still hopefully have enough time for fall. Does that work with everyone? If we table? Do I need to vote? to table?
We're waiting until May impact the purchase and installation.
I couldn't, you have no idea.
If it does, get a hold of Scott, and then he can maybe do a straw poll via email.
So
I
its
hate
install
to-
timeline is 8 to 10 weeks from received deposit and on-site 2 to 3 day installation.
Oh, that's okay.
Yep. Yep. It didn't get approved though. No. We were potentially voting on it.
Yeah, we haven't voted on it.
So, okay, well, we will move to table that. Do we need to vote on?
So
table
you
it?
guys, you want a more in-depth plan, specifically who will be making advertising calls? How long are each of the ads?
You
How
work
long will
on,
the
you
board-
work on that, I'll work on the logistics of everything else.
Good idea.
Okay, sounds good. Let's move along to item B. We have approval of probationary teachers.
I have several motions. I will take I'll list all the names here. So the first motion is the Board of Education approves moving the following probationary teachers from year 1 to probationary year 2: Lindsay Workman, Amber Hendrickson, Jenny Malooly, Tracy Terry, and Annie Suman.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Trumbull,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Samhoff,
Yes.
Angleton,
Yes.
Colters,
Yes.
Eagleson,
Yes.
Lucky.
Yes.
All right, the second motion is the Board of Education approves moving the following probationary teachers from year 2 to probationary year 3: Chelsea Eads, Devin Darcidem, Aaron Morris.
Morris or Morris?
It's Morris, it's autocorrect. Sean Ford and Gwen Worrell.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Wilkins,
Yes.
Samhoff,
Yes.
Angleton,
Yes.
Colters,
Yes.
Eagleson,
Yes.
Trumbull,
Yes.
Lucky.
Yes.
Third motion is Board of Education approves moving the following probationary teachers from year 3 to year probationary year 4: Dana Bass, Ann Brackemeyer, Megan Modulin, Amber Wright, and Ashley Johnson.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Samhoff,
Yes.
Angleton,
Yes.
Colters,
Yes.
Eagleson,
Yes.
Trumbull,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Lucky.
Yes.
The fourth motion is the Board of Education approves moving the following teacher from probationary status to tenure status at the end of the 23-24 school year: Tom Drasopoulos.
So moved. No, sorry.
Oh, is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, roll call?
Angleton,
Yes.
Colters,
Yes.
Eagleson,
Yes.
Trumbull,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Samhoff,
Yes.
Lucky.
Yes. District refuse contract.
In the fall, we talked about possibly changing, I guess vendors is what you would call them, for picking up our garbage. It is probably time to start that discussion again. There's a quote from Green and Clean for refuse removal and dumpsters. Support for this in the fall.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring it back.
Yeah, that would vote on.
The only difference was, I don't think they would do the recycling side of things, but I don't know if the recycling actually gets to a recycling place. No,
Is there a recycling club, like an environmental club?
there could be.
I mean, not necessarily a club, but I mean, like our students take care of doing it all, but they put it in the recycling bin.
No, you just throw it in the dumpster.
What's that?
No, you just throw it in the dumpster.
I mean, I'm all for working with a local
Yes.
company. I personally have switched to them because Republic is not,
They're very expensive and
they're not great.
they're difficult to work with
Yes.
sometimes.
So I would be good with this.
Me too.
Okay.
If there's support, I'll bring back a formal motion for.
Okay.
Sure.
Next
Please
one.
do so.
Okay.
So we are at,
Fine arts.
okay. So we are, at this point, kind of discussing where we stand as far as fine arts. So as I understand it, we have a music candidate,
Two music candidates.
two music
yes.
candidates who,
Are certified music teachers.
right, and two art. And we need to decide where we are with this. If we are, as a board, deciding to fill both positions, if we're looking to fill one position, and where we stand.
So what do we have right now?
Right now, we have a long-term sub that does K-5 art
Okay.
and no music.
So no music whatsoever.
And this is, I can't think of her name.
That's okay.
Left and took a position with the East Coloma and Montmorency school districts. Lisa Scholl.
Initial, yeah.
So what do they,
And we were unable to fill it because we did not have a applicant come forward.
so what do they do instead?
They don't get music.
Now,
You extended recess, right?
Northside is using that time to do small group reading instruction.
Yeah.
So,
Southside is using part of that time as a
Art,
makerspace.
SEL, makerspace, and then another reading session.
so do all kids? So you do a small group. So what do the other kids do that aren't in a small group?
They're all.
Or
They're
they're
all.
Oh, they're all in a small
Everybody's,
group.
we're doing, in kindergarten, I don't know, first grade, kindergarten, how many groups? 6?
We have the 3 classroom teachers and 2 reading specialists. We pull all the aides available, the librarian comes to help, and then parent volunteers.
Last night didn't help reading scores for tests were way better because of it.
That was one of the things that, at least for the winter benchmark, they had improved quite a bit.
So you find that very beneficial then? Or beneficial? at
Yeah,
least?
absolutely.
Okay.
I believe so. I'll let you two speak more. What you two.
And let me ask you, with those groups and that extra intervention, were we taking the kids that were already doing well and pushing them up?
Correct.
Or were we taking the kids at the bottom and pulling them up?
All of them.
All that?
They're all,
Yeah.
they're all in different rooms based on
Sure.
their skills.
Yeah.
And then the room that has the kids who need to be pulled up at the bottom has 3 adults.
3
And so
teachers.
those, yes, 3 teachers. And so those kids are never doing anything independent. It's very scripted and very structured, what they're doing in each rotation every single week. And then the other 2 classes with the middle kids and the high kids are pulling in all the other available adults that we can come up with to help push those kids just as much as the kids that we're usually targeting.
And my daughter's in second grade. She really enjoys, and she comes home and talks about going to the other groups, and I think it's a good practice and it's very beneficial just from her feedback.
So then, how often do they do that per week?
Every day.
Every day?
It's an hour a day.
Hour a day.
45 minutes.
45 minutes. By the time
An
you
hour.
get everyone traveling.
Okay, so they do art. Do they do that every day, or do they do that every other day, or how's that work?
Do art twice a week for
Twice a
30 minutes,
Okay, so,
Which is about what they did before.
which is what we did before. We used to do 2.5 days of art, 2.5 days of music per week.
so what do they do? Do they do anything on the other days because,
That PE and recess.
okay. They have, what, 2 recesses a day?
Yeah, you can get after lunch and then usually one in the afternoon.
That's same with Southside?
So there's only one recess per day.
That's
But,
what,
and then it's, 30 minutes after lunch and PE.
Joe, you still get the recess in middle school?
Just part of lunch, it's only 10 minutes. No, we don't know, like, we need to get them out and give them something. But yeah, ours is 10 minutes.
And Amy Earl, is your staff happy with this?
There's been some learning
I don't want
curves.
to speak for them. Go ahead.
The biggest issue was obviously finding enough help in the middle and the high room without 3 teachers in there. But we've been pretty creative, and with parent volunteers and things, it's working. We want to do a little tweaking next year and try to divide them in 4 groups rather than 3 rooms. Because I have 28 kids, which is more than my normal class, so it's a lot of monitoring, so. But we're working on a plan.
So there was, going back to music and art separate, what would that mean for your reading groups? You're taking them out of regular instruction, or it just goes by the wayside?
We would still be able to do our small reading groups because it would still be 4 out of 5 days, we would have our 30 minutes of art or music, and it'd be at the same time. If that's the way we've always structured the schedule. So we might have art Monday, music Tuesday. They might be at Southside one day, Northside the other day, and we usually swap back and forth.
But you wouldn't do it every day,
What is that?
the reading groups?
I think we would be able to.
I think we can fit
Yeah.
both into the schedule. We've been able to do it this year, so.
Because that art
So that
time, we
time's
don't
gotta
do
come from
wind
center,
group,
though.
right?
So with that time that we have scheduled for art currently, we don't have any of our wind group scheduled during that block of time at all. So you would put music then opposite of that art, so you would have 4 days of a second special. And then one day would be like your off day where you could do SEL lessons, science lessons, those kinds of things.
And I really like having a fine arts aspect into, education. I think it's a good, well-rounded. I think the question is, now we've not been paying a salary for music, and then for art, it's a long-term sub pay without benefits, right? Because that would just be, so that's adding to full salaries with benefits as a consideration. But I certainly think having one, whether it's music or art, I think is important for the kids. I'm guessing that you'd rather not teach music, like class, but in have the art be more incorporated.
That Christmas program's been tough the last few years that we pulled together.
Some of us are a little more stressed than others at running a Christmas program, but we did it once or twice. We can figure it out again if we need to.
Joe, what's your numbers for choir?
Choir's pretty good. We have about 34, 38 kids out. But once again, that was COVID decimated it for a while. Mrs. Morris did a great job of recruiting kids, and she goes down to the elementary buildings, and so choir numbers are, they're good.
Okay, what about band?
About the same. Band numbers are, I think we have, oh gosh, put me in the spot. I think 34 kids in band.
Okay, great.
And junior high band's always a tough one because, I try to convince the kids, hey, if you enjoy band, stay with it.
Right.
Don't not do it because somebody
There are
doesn't think it's cool
32
or something
kids
like that.
in junior high chorus.
How many?
32.
Okay.
So what is it at
Band?
high school?
At high school level,
Not anywhere near those numbers.
no, it's not even close.
But once again, they're still coming off COVID, which really hurt.
Yeah.
Really hurt.
So at the high school level, advanced choir has 6 kids, symphonic choir has 4.
Wow.
They don't,
So, I mean, with that type of staffing, or that type of number of students,
band has 19.
I know it's different certifications, but is there any way we can borrow a teacher? We gotta get creative, we all agree with that.
29 band.
Okay. And so the south side and the high school is right next to each other. We have such small there, how do we get creative and keep some music aspect without spending so much money on?
Are any of the applicants qualified to do both?
That's that.
Good question.
Specialized. So let me take that back. That's a kind of a loaded question because the state requires for elementary that you only have taken 1 class in that field. So the chances of someone who's a music person taking an art class are probably pretty high because they're an art. So yes, they would be certified to teach both, but are they qualified?
Or interested.
Or interested in teaching both?
But
Yeah, I mean.
I agree, and I actually emailed him that last week.
Yeah.
But I'm still more interested in knowing what we can do with what we already have.
So
We do need music in
do we
our
have the same, is our choir teacher the band teacher at the high school?
No. Mrs. Morris is the choir teacher, Miss Suman is the band instructor.
And Mrs. Moore, she does junior high and high
They
school,
both,
right?
they both do. They
Yeah,
both move
they
back
both
and
do.
forth. I'm gonna be honest, my concern with splitting someone that much is they're not a piece of pie to cut up, they're a person, and that is gonna be someone that's gonna be gone in a year or 2. If we do that,
Right.
and then we're gonna be looking for we're gonna be doing the same thing.
I think, and I am in no way, shape, form saying this is what you should do, but if you're looking at thinking outside the box, I think you would think about who you have now, and one does 6-12, one does K-5. Which would probably cause at least one of them to go somewhere else. But that's more probably appropriate than splitting an elementary person into art and music.
If somebody wants to build the program, no better opportunity than.
If you build from the bottom, that's where you're gonna build them. You gotta, when I think of not having music in our K through 5, I see kiddos in those grades and I see them sometimes in the music
So
room and we don't get music.
It's a lot like everything else. It's a lot like track. It's a lot like swimming. It's a lot like everything. It's when they're younger, they want to do everything and they enjoy doing everything. And so you see larger numbers in the 5th, 6th, in the junior high. When they get to high school, there are a lot more opportunities for them to do other things, not just extracurriculars. They're driving, they're dating, they're working, they're doing all these other things. So, and I'm not, again, trying to be Debbie Downer here, but I have been here 25 years, I've been in administration 15 years, and I've interviewed all kinds of band and choir people. And the one question we always ask is, what are you going to do to build a program? And they all have these wonderful ideas, and they all say, that's my priority. But COVID or not, our high school numbers were down before COVID, and they continue to be down. So I'm not saying you get rid of it. I'm just saying is the reality of the situation is those high school numbers, again, with 287 kids in the school, not 400 or 450 that we had 20 years ago, those programs are going to remain low based on past practices and those types of things.
You said we have one class with 6?
Yes, and one with 4.
I mean, how many other, have you ever taught a class of 6?
Yeah, I have one now.
That's an easy fix.
But
That's an easy fix. You can't offer 2 separate choirs with less than 10 kids. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
And so in that case, then now you free up that teacher they have an opportunity for another class. You've just freed up that one classroom hour, 40 minutes, whatever it is. And that's the math of the day.
But is that realistic to also fill K through 5? Yeah.
I think this is part of a bigger discussion that needs to take place with the principal and the counselors. when you look at this, but I do think it's an important discussion that needs to be had.
Well, and I don't want to sit on applicants and then not be able to offer a job and lose all 4 applicants. I think that's,
Absolutely.
but my sense is, I
Have we-
think
have we
even having,
interviewed?
Just one music,
okay,
as soon as she applied.
okay.
And how long ago was that?
Last Monday, we could go today.
And have you been in contact with her since?
So as a person who's not in education, and I'll kind of open this question up, but do you have any intangible benefits that you see when say when we had a music program versus when we didn't have one? Things that are less measurable. And so what I'm talking about here are things like changes in behavior on it, when they have music. And I'm asking this because in my profession, there's a lot of intangible things that are because you have a personal relationship with somebody and you recognize something, if something changes, right? You recognize it because you've known them for 10 years. And in this case, the kids you've been around every day. Is there some intangible benefit that's harder to put your finger on that is either gotten or lost by having or not having the programs?
I won't put them on the spot. I will just say this. Yes, there is. I think in the right circumstances, art and music create an outlet for kids to express themselves. And as such, if it's an enjoying time of the day for them, coming back to their regular education classroom teacher in a much calmer or more relaxed manner. With that being said, the wrong person or wrong way of doing things in those classrooms can have the opposite effect. And I think it's fair to say, and I won't put Matt on the spot because he's new here, but I'll put Andy on the spot if he wants to. I think we've seen both over the course of.
That's what I was going to say. I believe there's an absolute benefit to both.
Yes.
Dependent upon the person teaching the class. I don't know if Matt agrees, the applicant we interviewed last week. One of the questions was, what's the most important attribute that an elementary music teacher could have? And, I was thinking it was going to be building creativity or, fostering love of music, things like that. Instead, she said, patience. They're never going to be perfect. They're little kids. They're a work in progress. I thought that was really good.
That was good.
That's a very good view of her role.
Yeah, for sure.
Realistic.
Yeah.
Now, if we hire a music teacher, that would be K through 5, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You wanted my recommendation. My recommendation is to allow them to move on the music position and then
I
decide
agree.
what to do with the art as we move forward.
I agree.
I personally would like to explore the avenues of what can we do with what we have before we, that's just my opinion. We're talking about cuts and now we're talking about hiring somebody without having the conversation of how do we reduce a cut by keeping what we have and reorganizing it a little bit.
But we have talked about this before, seriously, about the music, especially the music. We have talked about this. And then we gave the go-ahead, this is a couple years ago, go-ahead about filling the position, and then we can't find applicants. So now we're going back to discuss again.
Yeah.
Okay, we've done this before, seriously.
In
Yeah.
the 90s, did we just have one band teacher?
At one point, you had 2 instrumental music teachers. When I came in '99, there was Mr. Bean and
Mr. Olson.
Mr. Olson. That was a young kid.
Oh, well, Mr. Olson must be.
Everybody remembers Olson.
He was a young kid. He was from Wisconsin because he was a big Wisconsin fan.
I don't remember him.
He had red hair. He left after a year or 2. And then Mrs. Palmer came shortly thereafter.
But Bean did one, did you do band and Olson, or did they both do?
Mr. Olson did 5th grade and junior high band, and Mr. Bean did high school band.
Okay, so we did have one for each.
Bigger district back then.
Yeah.
I just, my concern is that we might lose this applicant if we're gonna take, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my concern is we'll never balance it, we'll never get our budget back on track.
Well, there is a plan that we're discussing, okay, that we haven't talked about yet, but I'm concerned about the music position because we have had this discussion many, many times.
Have we
And
had
then
the
when we do
discussion?
have well, wait a minute, and then we couldn't find an applicant. Now there's an applicant. I don't wanna, I mean, I think, I'm just saying, we're gonna go back for another discussion again when we know that it's needed, very much so. And I think we've tried looking at, can we use a person from this school building to go over here? No, we can't. We've tried that. We've looked at different options. If you want to look at it again, fine, but you'll probably lose an applicant. That's all I'm saying.
I apologize, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Karen.
That's okay.
I don't remember the conversation of, here's the number of classes that are taught, and knowing that there's 6 students per portion. I don't remember hearing that conversation since I've been on the board.
Okay.
So our music teachers at the junior high and high school, they're certified at just the junior high and high school, or are they certified K-5?
Probably K-12.
I would guess
It's all K-12.
Most I guess.
The specials fields are generally K-12, could be music, computers, all those are generally K-12.
I think part of that discussion, as I said, it's a bigger discussion, probably would involve some collective bargaining issues and the discussion with the union. If you're looking at the idea of taking someone from a 6-12 position or a 9-12 position and moving them to an elementary type position, that probably needs to be discussed at least with the association before you make that decision.
My concern is with moving one to the elementary, the schedules have been made, right?
No.
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 Kids haven't filled out their schedules yet?
They've made course
We're
requests.
turning in course requests currently right now.
So what do you do when you cut a course? You just put them on in a different class?
They have
Alternate.
choices.
Oh, okay.
Yes, they felt, I didn't quite get, like a kid picks a class that we've cut. Yes, they have alternates in each of their class periods.
Let's clarify, we haven't cut anything, we don't offer.
Right.
Right.
And we all know that, I'm just for the
Yes,
people that
yes.
may be watching on
Make your cut,
line,
yes.
your cut.
Like if you don't have enough people in
It's
class.
not,
Yes.
it's,
Yeah.
And one of those choir classes is an early bird class that's offered because students couldn't have fit choir in their schedule, period. So it's naturally going to be low class for any early bird class like that. What Miss Morris can do then by teaching early bird is get over to the junior high and then supplement and teach over there too. So that's one of those where that something already created is kind of going on. And it looks like a tiny class because it's early bird, but then it lets her get over, Mrs. Morris, get over to the junior high when she doesn't have a class at the back end of her schedule.
So what she do? Just, because I know they have.
She's not teaching an overload, but it
Right.
frees up that part of her schedule.
Oh, okay.
that's another thing that needs to be discussed, and it's probably in the minute discussion, is a district of a school of 250 or 280 kids, I'm not sure early bird is feasible anymore. That's not a good use of staff when, I understand it's a benefit for some kids, but when you have a PE class at the junior high of 42 kids and an early bird PE class at the high school of 6, I don't think that's equitable.
No, I agree.
And that's unfortunate, but we've discussed it many times. Choices and changes have to be made.
What I'm getting is that we all agree that art and music are important, and that's a solid. The ideal solution would be for us to be able to fill that with what we have in our district.
Yes.
If we're able to explore those options and figure that out, we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone essentially, because we can keep those classes and utilize our teachers and figure out scheduling. However, if we find that can't be done, my
The other
sense would
thing
be,
to- I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead.
The other thing to consider is if you are looking at, let's say, you eliminate one of the choirs, is there something else that Mrs. Morris can teach? Is she certified in something else?
I mean,
You never know. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you have to have those
Right.
discussions.
Right.
I think the board would like to keep as many electives at the high school as possible. But,
And my daughter's like, if she could teach me.
but
You never know.
But offering courses, whether it be at the junior high, elementary courses or whatever, simply for the sake of offering them is not a good use of funds. And I hate to say that, but that's the reality where we're at. Is as a district, and as we talk about the potential reductions, we have done things in this district a certain way for quite a while. And we're at a point, this is nobody's fault, that we have to start making changes. And we can't do the same things we did in 1995 when the district was 1,500 people and we had 30 kids out for band and we had 20 kids out for, all those other things. We just don't have the numbers anymore. And I'll be the bad guy and say it.
Yeah. And I think honestly, this leads us into the next piece, going over the budget. So, I mean, I have a sense we're not going to come to a decision tonight. And if we can.
So how are we going to go about saying, hey, we
I know.
want a band teacher or choir teacher at the Elementary, or we don't? Because Andy's already interviewed this young lady, I'm assuming.
So we put it to a vote next month.
We'll go right now.
Because,
Well, we
because,
can't on next item.
because this girl's just waiting, and if she gets a job
Right.
somewhere else,
Yep.
you know.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I guess there was.
It does. Well, to me, it does, because it's irritating when you interview somebody and you're sitting around waiting for that phone call and no one's calling you. And
Yeah.
that just makes us look bad. I mean,
Then maybe we just say, okay, then it just sounds like, just taken off by what I'm hearing, is that we say, we're not hiring a position. I mean, I think we need to say nay or yay, so at least he knows what to tell the applicant.
I totally agree. I think we need.
I mean, maybe we just need to.
You need to fill one of the two.
Come up with a plan.
Right.
You need to fill one of the two.
I think we need to film music.
Because if you don't fill both, then you're getting into contractual issues because part of that is this teacher's contractual prep time.
Right.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
So,
because if we don't have a music
you
or
have
art,
to
right now
fill-
we have art, so we have to fill that
You
time.
have to fill one of the two.
Right.
The question becomes this, is do you fill music? Because no offense to artists all over the world, teachers are more comfortable teaching art in their classroom versus music. The second option then is if you want to fill both, you're understanding you're taking on a salary and a half more and benefits more than you are now. If you take that route, you seriously need to consider filling other vacancies from within. And as we've discussed before, that would mean losing interventionists.
Right.
I think as much as you would like to look at filling from within, I don't know how feasible that is given different schedules and things like that. That is probably a long-term discussion that you take 6, 7 months, get everybody in place and say, okay, this is what we're wanting to do. Can we do it? Can we split music into 612 K5? Can we split art into 612 K5? That's not something you do at this point in the year. So if you want my recommendation is you offer the position to the music person. You work with the junior high and the high school principal and counselors to make use of who we've got in an efficient manner in terms of class sizes and those types of things. And then at some point you make a decision on what you want to do with the art.
Right.
That's, if you want my recommendation, and that's why I'm in this chair, that's what it is right now.
Yeah. I'm comfortable with that.
I didn't realize, sort of, think with the contractual side, I appreciate you pointing that out.
Yeah. That's a very good point.
And I'm not saying we're not hiring art, I'm just saying at this,
Right.
this date,
But we have 2 applicants for it, right?
yes.
And that's gonna need.
And they may not even take the job.
Right.
Yeah,
They may not be any good.
possibly. But
if
have you been in contact with them yet?
No, I was waiting.
Waiting.
So I guess what, again, I would add to that recommendation is we have our principals at least speak with them and bring them in for an interview and
Yeah.
then give us their recommendation, or have them speak with me, and then I will give you a recommendation as to what I think we need to do with the art side of things.
That sounds good to
But
me.
if you hire music, you're at worst the same as you were this year, just you're flip-flopping art and music.
Right.
but we're paying for insurance, which.
Right, well,
Right.
right.
Oh,
Well, we
You're gonna
have
add, you're
to.
gonna, you're gonna
Yes,
add
we're gonna
something no
need
matter what.
Yes, I agree.
That sounds good to me.
Okay, so we
All right.
need to.
So we're making the offer.
Yep.
Thank you.
That works.
Okay.
Good, no, good,
Yeah.
great discussion.
No, I didn't think about the contract part. And I didn't. All right, so let's move along to new business. We have the reduction in force.
So over the last several months, we have talked a lot about reducing costs and those types of things. Last week, I presented a plan to the board and to the non-certified staff, union president and the UNICEF director. And they had a meeting with, a regularly scheduled meeting with that group. And since then, there has been some questions brought up, both in the district and via social media. And so in speaking with Aaron, I thought it would be important that we air it all out, explain some things, and hopefully negate some misinformation or provide more information for the community and the staff so they get a better picture of why we're doing it. So I will apologize that this might take time, but it's valuable time in my opinion. All right, so some fast facts about the district budget. Last year, our total revenue was just over $14 million, which was a 2.5% increase from the year before that. Our total expenditures in fiscal year 23 is 14.5, which is a 5.2% increase from the prior year. So our expenditures exceeded our revenue by about $496,000, all funds. That's somewhat misleading because that factors in capital projects, and you can get capital projects funds in 1 year, but you don't spend them the next year. So you get $2 million in fiscal year 22, but you spend it in fiscal year 23. Your fiscal year 23 audit is not going to show that $1 million income. So therefore, it's going to show you spent $1 million more than you brought in. Does that make sense? Okay. So let me clarify one other thing. All the data I'm going to show tonight comes from our annual audit, which legally we have to have every year. These aren't my numbers. These are the numbers that our auditor gives us in a 30-page report.
Will you put the PowerPoint on the website?
And I'm going to put the PowerPoint on the website after this. All right. So in school districts in Illinois, there are 3 major funds. There's the education fund, from which 90% of all our revenue and costs come from and goes into. If you look at your financial report, the ed fund, which is fund 10, goes on for like 7 pages. So last year, we got $10.1 million that went into the ed fund. That's local, state, and federal income. That was a 1.3% increase from the previous year. From that fund, we had $10.3 million in expenses. That was a 4.8 increase from fiscal year 22. All told, that's approximately $155,000 plus in more expenditures than revenue. So that's a deficit spending. Salaries and benefits make up 79.3% of the ed fund expenditures and 56.2% of all expenses in the district. O&M, which is another fund that we're having an issue with, 42% of that is your salaries. That would be your facility director and all your custodians. And I think we can agree that we are probably understaffed in that department. So even though it makes up 42%, we probably could use extra help in that area. All salaries and benefits make up roughly 60% of our entire expenses.
For O&M.
For all expenditures.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So if we're spending $15 million, 60% of that is covering salaries and benefits. All right, so why do we need to make reductions? Several reasons. One, our expenditures are continuing to outpace our revenue, which is resulting in deficit spending in our 2 biggest funds, our ed and our O&M fund. Special education costs continue to increase because we are forced to place some of our neediest kids in other facilities because we're not equipped to handle their needs. Our insurance costs are dramatically increasing. Our enrollment is continuing to decline, but our staffing remains flat. Also, there's a teacher shortage in Illinois that is requiring us to raise salaries and benefits in order to remain competitive with local districts in our area, and we'll get into all of this. All right, so first of all, expenditures outpacing revenue. Here's a breakdown of our ed fund revenue versus our ed fund expenditures over the last 11 years. You can see in those, in the fourth column, 8 times out of the past 11 years, we've had a deficit spending. Now, the easy question is, well, why didn't you just make a change then? Why did you allow this, or why did the board allow this? Well, in fiscal year 2013, excuse me, we had $5.6 million in our savings account. So the Board of Education at that time felt as though the deficit could be absorbed because of our reserve funds. If you total those surplus and deficits over the last 10 years, the district has spent $2.6 million more out of the ed fund than they brought in. So if you look at this is a visual representation of the expenses versus only 2 out of those years have revenue exceeded expenditures. And part of that is because of COVID. This is the more important slide. In fiscal year 14, which would be the 2013-14 school year, we started the year with $5.3 million in our ed fund reserve. At the end of last year, we're down to 3.8. Now, 3.8 sounds like a lot. But we used to have 6 months cash on hand, which means if we got no money from local property taxes, from the state or the federal, all our revenue dried up, we could operate the district on what we had in the bank for 6 months, half a year. We're under 4 months now with our reserve funds. When this number, okay, becomes less than the deficit, when that number can no longer cover the difference between revenue and expenditures, the state of Illinois comes in and says you have to submit a plan to cut costs. So if we look at ed fund projections over averaging $220,000 of deficit spending, you're out of money, or the district is out of money by 2041. Now, yes, that's several years away, but that's a scary thought. Even when you get to here, you're probably in trouble. So if something doesn't change within the next few years, you're hitting critical mass. The other fund that we're having an issue with is our operation and maintenance fund. As you can see in this chart, expenditures greatly outpaces our revenue. Now, I only did a 5-year comparison here because this is a newer problem. This is coming up. This problem just resurfaced probably within the last 2 or 3 years. But this is probably a more pressing issue because if you look at our reserves, these numbers here are inflated because we've taken $200,000 from our working cash fund every year and moved it into the operation and maintenance fund so we could pay our bills. That has since depleted our working cash fund. We used to have $750,000 in working cash. That fund is probably insolvent at this point. So here's our O&M projections. We're out of money by 2025. Because there is no more money. So how do we fix that? This has to come from somewhere. It's coming from the ed fund. It's the only other place it can come from. So now you're taking more money out of the ed fund to pay to run your buildings. special education costs. In 2013, salaries and benefits for all special education personnel was $620,000. Last year was $828,000. That's a 33.5% increase. That doesn't worry me because that's about a 3% increase every year. What we need to be concerned about is tuition. The number of kids we have to place in outside facilities. And this isn't done willy-nilly. These are kids that need special services that we can't provide. There's students that live in our district that we are legally bound and ethically bound to help. $116,000, $350. It's a 200.4% increase.
So this is one thing, like, the other things we have some control over.
Yes, we don't control this.
No, we
This-
don't.
We're just.
We
this is
don't
just-
control this.
Yeah, this is just a fact.
This is,
There's nothing
we,
can do.
we eat this cost. There's nothing we can do to offset this. Payment to cover other governmental units. This is our bi-county programs. And again, these are services that our kids need. They're services that we aren't equipped, and this is not a knock on our staff. These are just high needs kids. 260, 267, 746, 180% increase over 10 years. All told, we're looking at a 92% jump in special ed costs. And of these three, this is the only one we can control. All right, insurance costs. 2018, monthly premium for staff was $496.88. Next year, it's going to be $929.41. That's an 87% increase. The district pays most of this. Okay? This is basic PPO plan, $1,500 deductible. Doesn't include family, doesn't include any, bells and whistles. It's a basic plan. It's going up 86%. Why? We have high cost, we have high claims, and that's all I'm going to say without outing. So in 2018, not including administration, okay, you're looking at $500,000 in insurance costs a year. We're projected to be $947 next year. Do we have to offer insurance? Yes, we do. By law, we have to offer insurance to all staff, all full-time staff, and anyone who works 30 hours or more a week. So any aide that works 6 hours or more qualifies for insurance. They don't have to take it, but at the cost it's offered, a lot do. All right, enrollment versus staffing. In 2013, we were a district of 1,107 kids. We had 69 certified staff members. Last year, we were 957, we had 72. That's not including aides. Probably increased more than that. So this is not to advocate cutting staff. This is just to say, this is why our costs are still going up. Salaries and benefits. This is the current average salary of the districts in our county. Morrison is at $55,208, which ranks 6th, only above PLT and Fulton. When you look at the highest paid individuals in the district, not counting administrators, we're at number 2. Only behind Rock Falls High School. In administrative average, we sit at 6th. Who's that? PLT's below us, and East Coloma's below us, but they only have 2 administrators. Base salary, as of 23-24, we're at $36,749, which places us at 7th, slightly ahead of Montmorency and slightly ahead of PLT. So when we're looking at hiring new staff, this is the number they look at.
Can you go back one page? So, I mean, we're in the middle with a lot of things, but here, we're paying our most experienced certified staff
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
well above average. I'm not saying they don't deserve it. That's just a fact of what we're
Yes.
doing. That's a fact of what we're doing here.
Yes. Yes. So as you look at projected base salaries you're looking at, and I've used this as to, if it's italicized, that's a projection based on previous years. So in 26-27, you're looking at East Coloma at 42.5, Erie at 44.3, Fulton at 41, Rockwell's Elementary at 46, Rockwell's High School at 38, but they make up for it in different ways. And then Sterling at 47. Remember, we're at 36,700 now. This is about 25% more than what we're paying. So a lot of people might be saying, well, why are you comparing us to Erie? Why are you comparing us to Rock Falls? This is who we're competing against. Yes, we don't have the EAB that Erie has. We don't have the EAB that Sterling has, but they're taking our teachers. They're poaching our teachers. And I'm not faulting them for that, because that's the world we live in, where teachers are incredibly hard to come by. All right, so what's the fix? The fix is that the district has to look at ways to reduce spending in the education and operation and maintenance funds. This could mean, but it doesn't guarantee, elimination of some extracurricular activities where participation numbers are lower, some reduction in staff in terms of the total number of people we employ, or perhaps the hours and days they work. It could mean closing a building. The bottom line is we have to be creative in how we staff certain positions or subjects. We've talked about some of that tonight. But, and I can't stress this enough, and as you know, I'm not coming back next year, so I can say this, you got to make a change. Something has to change. You can't keep doing it the way we've always done it and expect to last. So the district needs to make a change in how it does business in the least intrusive and radical way as possible, but a change is needed in order to protect the future of the district. So the last couple of things that I want to talk about, getting some facts out, because there's a lot of misinformation out there and a lot of very good questions that have sprung up. I'm not criticizing anybody or anything, because it's jump-starting a conversation that needs to take place. All right, district is looking at taxes. No. The district is not actively looking at raising taxes. That's an option, but the feasibility of it is very slim. Raising taxes through a referendum is probably not the fix. All right, closing the district office. I've heard this one a lot. So the district office accounts for 0.13% of the total budget. It's a $15 million budget. It costs 0.13% of that. The lease for this office is paid through the lease levy that can only be used for the rental or leasing of supplies, goods, and property and services. Is closing the district office an option? Sure. And when the lease is up, whatever board is seated at that time will have to make that decision. But until that time, it's not a viable fix to what we're seeing. Can closing the pool save money? Sorry, Tracy. The pool costs the district between $10,000 and $20,000 a year in upkeep. Chemicals, electricity, fixing things that break, all that stuff. So depending on a good year, it could be cheaper. Depending on a bad year, it could be much more expensive. But even if you take $20,000, that's 0.14% of the total budget. All right. What the district may want to look at is that the district absorbs all of the costs for the pool. All the upkeep and maintenance is done by the district. Now, is that going to fix things? No. Will it help offset some of this cost? Possibly. But it's not going to fix your budget issues. All right, why are we building a greenhouse if our budget is so bad? The alumni are generously donating the greenhouse, including the construction of the building. The district will absorb the cost of the upkeep, including maintenance and utilities. There's going to be a cost for this. More than likely, it's going to be minimal. So the board, the board feels the educational benefits outweigh these minimal costs. You know, we had a fine group of 8th graders up here talking about losing classes. We've lost classes because we can't staff them. This brings a little bit of that back at little cost to the district. Biology classes can use it. Ag classes can use it. Junior high classes can use it. So it's going to be a very valuable benefit. Can money be saved through changes with Bi-County? That's another one I've heard. That's a great question. Bi-County leases rooms within our buildings. The cost or the amount of that lease is established by the districts in the cooperative. There are 12. All the superintendents sit on the executive board. The lease amounts are determined by that board. So increasing that amount would mean increasing the costs for 11 other districts, which might be difficult to do. The important thing to consider is this one. So in terms of programs, OT, PT, speech, life skills, all of those programs that Bi-County offers that we can't staff or can't deal with because we're not equipped, we're paying them to do it. And it's on a per student basis. So they take the total cost of the program. So if a program costs $1 million and there's 100 kids in there, that's $10,000 or whatever it is, $10,000 per kid, and we send 17 kids there, that's $17,000, or that's, excuse me, $170,000 that we're spending on that program. Because the number of students in our district that need these services, again, these aren't, yeah, we'll just push them over. These are truly kids that need these programs, have increased so much, we are the third highest program in that cooperative. Now, yes, we are the third biggest, but it's not close. You can see it was $700,000 is what last year we paid for payment to other government entities. And we can't control this because just as our expenses are going up, their expenses are going up. And I got more bad news. When a district pulls out of the cooperative and does it on their own, our costs increase because there's fewer districts to pay for that cost.
And if we try to say, hey, we're good, these have to go off, we're going to charge more.
Yeah.
They can relocate.
Yes.
And
now we have more
then,
transportation costs.
we have to pay for transportation and costs on top of everything else, and it just hurts us more.
Another thing that was brought up, can the district save money by eliminating coaches? Yes, but that's a bargaining issue. We're currently bargaining with the MEA right now. Would closing Northside help with the O&M costs? The answer is maybe, okay? And there's a lot to that. So the board has discussed this informally. Right now, Southside is not big enough to house all K-5 students. So if you look at moving the 5th graders to the junior high, just like moving the 8th graders to the high school, that comes with other concerns. Do you want 5th graders and 8th graders together? Do you want 8th graders and seniors together? Those types of things. How are you going to feed them? How many lunch periods? So it's not just simple of relocation. So it comes with some issues. But even if you move 5th grade to the junior high, you still don't have enough space. Without pre-K, what did I say you need? 3, 6. You need 18 classes. Right now you have 12 classrooms. So you'd have to do some sort of building project, which decreases the savings you're going to get, the impact right now. Long-term, yes. Short-term, no. That's why it's a maybe. All right. And kind of here's the big one. And this is a very, very, very legit question. Why aren't other districts of our size or similar of our size in this situation? Most districts that are of similar size in EAV and enrollment will get about the same in aid. But that's just part of the story. As we've talked about, how a district compensates its staff, both certified and non-certified, in salaries and benefits, increases your costs. The number of staff, especially non-certified staff, may greatly differ from one district to another. As we've talked about through this board of education, we have a lot of non-certified staff. We have a lot of aides. We have 12 one-to-one aides that are very well compensated. A school like Fulton, just like Fulton or Provincetown, doesn't have 12 one-to-one aides. That's a choice that the board made because they weren't able to fill those positions. So although we might get the same revenue, our costs are going to be different than what Fulton's might be, or what Erie's might be, or what P-Towns might be. So we also have 4 buildings which are aging, which not everybody has. So although funding and revenue may be similar, the financial stability of a district is based on its expenditures, which varies depending on the district. And as I hopefully pointed out, we have some expenses that we don't control that are getting higher and higher and higher. Questions from anybody here? One thing that I've talked about with Aaron and the Finance Committee is we are looking at possibly doing a public forum to sit down and invite the public to come and ask questions. Because all of this came from some very good questions that were brought up. And school finance in Illinois is incredibly hard to figure out and understand and makes no sense at sometimes. So I would much rather have open discussions about this and hear input and suggestions than to not. So if you have questions, feel free to let me know. Because like I said, this came from a very, very good and thorough conversation I had with someone. And I thank that person for coming to me, and hopefully we can continue to work some of this stuff out.
Yes, it's better to come to the source instead of just Facebook, so we do not have misinformation shared, so we appreciate it. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So let's move on to the pre-arranged absence.
So the motion is the Board of Education approves the pre-arranged absent request for student number 730689958 as presented.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Retirement.
All right, so we have two things here. First motion is the Board of Education approves the retirement of Luann Wennicke as District Fiscal Assistant effective May 31st, 2024.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Discussion? Thank you, Luann, for everything you've done. Roll call?
Wilson,
Yes.
Cromwell,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Samhoff,
Yes.
Angleton,
Yes.
Folkers,
Yes.
Lucky.
Yes.
Second motion is the Board of Education approves the retirement of Diane Van Riet at the North Side Office Manager at the conclusion of the 23-24 school year.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Thanks to her as well. And roll call?
Cromwell,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Samhoff,
Yes.
Angleton,
Yes.
Folkers,
Yes.
Lucky,
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Certified staff.
Motion is the Board of Education approves the resignation of Allison Brockel as a certified ELA teacher at Morrison Junior High effective June 1, 2024.
Can you leave all with one, please?
That's fine.
We can do it together.
Let's do all of them except for the hire.
Okay, yep.
Does that make sense? Okay, so the motion is the Board of Education approves the resignation of Allison Brockel, Carrie Grimm, Jessica Prolant, Allison Sidman, Chelsea Stewart, and Sarah Whitebread as presented.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion?
Thanks for the time you spent for their district.
For sure. Roll call?
Cromwell,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Samhoff,
Yes.
Angleton,
Yes.
Folkers,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Lucky.
Yes.
And finally, the motion is the Board of Education approves the hiring of Luke Lawson as a certified school counselor at Morrison High School for the 24-25 school year.
Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Discussion?
Excited.
Yes. Roll call?
Wilkins,
Yes.
Samhoff,
Yes.
Angleton,
Yes.
Folkers,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Lucky,
Yes.
Cromwell.
Yes.
Okay, so this time we're going to move into closed session.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's.
No, I, we can bring it up some more time too. I mean, it's just, we got.
That's the cost.
Sort of just